Hey guys, it's been a hot minute. Chapter 3 released a couple of months ago. We got to see a little bit more of Jose in action and some bad cops getting some bits and pieces blown off. We also got our first glance at Jose's stand, Black Hole Sun, and Jose's general attitude towards him. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed it. Now, this chapter took quite a bit longer than anticipated, like they all have. And there's a whole pile of reasons/excuses I felt I would be remiss not to mention as I log the process of making Blood Sun. Now, normally, the personal life of the creator isn't really a huge factor in the actual production. Nobody really cares how the day of a chef is, you just want some good food. That said, it did impact the production, and I just like to overshare. The animatic for Chapter 3, with sound, was pretty much completed within several weeks of releasing Chapter 2. However, the animation process got gummed up with numerous hurdles. Now, back in late spring, early summer, I had a series of health issues. For months, I swore it was heart-related. I even got like a heart monitor and shit like that. And at its worst, without going into too much detail, actually checked myself into an emergency room. After a very pricey set of tests, it turns out my heart is fine. In fact, it's great. So that's awesome. My liver and gallbladder are all great. It would end up being a stomach bacterial infection, H. pylori, causing ulcers and a bunch of other fun jazz in my system that mimic the symptoms of some pretty serious shit. The good news is I was able to knock out the infection. I lost like 35 pounds and came away with some healthier life habits, for the most part. Over the summer, I also moved into a house. First time living by myself since, I guess, Shanghai. That was for like 3 months back in 2007. And I went crazy during that time. So it's been a strange adjustment for me after so many years of living with people or having roommates. Now, simultaneously, I was flying out to Austin, Texas over the course of 2 months to shoot with Markiplier for his upcoming project. I had a blast. Love working with Mark and Amy and his crew. Just so much respect for the work ethic, and I could go on. Anyways, I had a blast, and I was able to get some work done, but naturally it wasn't as effective. Now, the fall and winter had its own fair share of distractions, including the holidays. The new year culminating with me adopting a puppy, JoJo, and that is very much his real name, but yes, it was a contributing factor for me bringing him home. There were some other personal things that happened, some pretty big things, but they're personal, and I feel like there's already so much in here that I don't really want or need to go into detail about it. The life saga behind the making of Chapter 3 is pretty much over. Kinda. There's still some bullshit, but that's just life. Now, Chapter 4 is underway, and it has been for a while. Part of the delay is actually, hopefully in the long run, gonna be a benefit, and I think it is. I finally pulled the trigger on actually tackling the next step in the Blood Sun process. As I've said for a while now, I need a team if I want the project to move at a reasonable rate. Currently, we've got some solid translators for subtitles, which is great. As you may have noticed from Chapter 3, we've also landed a very talented and capable composer, Noah, previously known as Stereolife, and it appears we may finally have 2 additional artists joining the crew, so not just me. They're currently working on some assets right now at their own pace. I wouldn't call it part-time. It's considerably less than that. They have their own lives. They're doing other things, and I totally get that. But having additional help can only make the process faster, even if it's just a little, and they're great. I will eventually need some assistance in the 3D department, which is why I'm also starting to get into Blender myself. So that might delay this a little bit, but I believe in the long run, it can only help. Blood Sun merch. In the last several years, I designed a few shirts through sharkrobot, all JoJo related. And while Blood Sun Vendetta is technically JoJo related, I'm moving on from general JoJo merch to making strictly Blood Sun Vendetta merch. There is one shirt for part 6 that I might do as kind of like an homage and a mirror to the Muda shirt. We'll see if I do that one, but for the most part, just focusing on Blood Sun Vendetta. I realize the audience for it is very small, but for those who enjoy the series, including myself, I feel it has a much more personal appeal because it is kind of private to a degree. Shirts and posters are a pretty standard form of merch, so those will happen, but I've always wanted to try new and different stuff. So currently, I'm looking into the possibility of making belts similar to the one Jose wears. I have a few people I can reach out to. We'll see how realistic that is at this point, but it's definitely something I want to explore. Like all merch I've designed, it's stuff I myself would wear and enjoy, with the hope that others will too. And speaking of merch, the José de los Muertos shirt is actually available now in a variety of limited edition color schemes and can be purchased on sharkrobot.com. I got a link. It's in the description. I'll probably tweet about it. I will tweet about it. Why wouldn't I? Next up is completing the Chapter 4 animatic. I have been telling patrons this thing was going to be done since February. There's been plenty of other work being done behind the scenes, music stuff, also assets. I've been drawing a lot of backgrounds, and also working with the other animators. That said, it is going to be done very soon. And I'm gonna try to get most of the actual voicing in there because most of it's Monica, honestly, and she's great. There's no reason why I can't get her in on the ground level, rather than her having to voice over my voice. This chapter is going to focus a bit more on José's backstory. No spoilers, more than I leak throughout our patron calls and Twitter. And the following chapters, 05 and 06, will finally lead us up to our first major fight. Again, no spoilers, besides what I've said on Patreon on Twitter. I think folks will get a better sense of why exactly José comes off as such an edgelord, besides the fact that he's an 18-year-old kid who grew up on the streets. I think this kind of reveals the core of who he is. Kinda.
There's still some little spicy secrets.
And that, my friends, is that. Back to the grind, and grind I shall. Till then, to be continued.